U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a new plan to send weapons to Ukraine and threatened severe sanctions on Russia if no peace deal is reached within the next 50 days. His announcement marks a dramatic U-turn in U.S. policy. Earlier this month, the Pentagon announced it was pausing weapons shipments to Ukraine. But Trump has become increasingly frustrated with the Russian president and hopes the weapons will help end the war. Now speak to Andrey Kortunov, who's a member of the Valdai Discussion Club. That's a Russian foreign policy think tank joining us from Moscow this hour. Thanks for your time. So how will the threat of 100% tariffs go down with the Kremlin? Will the Kremlin be concerned at all?
Well, of course, there are concerns about new sanctions that might come from the White House, though there are hopes that President Trump will not go that far, because 100% is a lot, and definitely that would create serious problems between the United States and some of its major trading partners in the global south. But of course, we don't know what will happen within the next 50 days, how the situation in the battlefield might change, and how the negotiation process might continue. The only thing that we can be confident about is that President Putin is not likely to yield under the U.S. pressure.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. I mean, this 50-day sort of timeline to reach a peace deal that Trump is speaking about, is that a timeline Putin is willing to work with?
Well, I think that Putin would definitely appreciate a grace period that President Trump granted him. Maybe he would like to increase the pressure on Ukraine along the line of contact, but we might also expect a new round of negotiations between Kyiv and Moscow. I don't think that there are any specific plans to continue this negotiation process, but in theory, the Russian side has never opposed negotiations with Kyiv.
But overall, I mean, if you look at the big picture here, this announcement by Trump does represent a tougher approach from his administration. So do you think this could be the beginning of a new confrontational approach?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that we can rule out this scenario. Indeed, if you get back to the first Trump administration in the beginning, there were also a lot of expectations about his ability to put this relationship back on track. However, his first term was the time when these negotiations led to nothing, and there was a summit which turned out not to be very productive, and the relations continued to deteriorate. So right now in Moscow, I think expectation management is the name of the game.
Is President Putin just simply buying time? In other words, I mean, does Russia have any incentive to rush into a ceasefire or some sort of peace deal when it's reportedly making gains on the battlefield?
Well, I think that they do not exclude a ceasefire, but there are many strings attached to it. Russia wants the roots of the conflict to be addressed. It wants some guarantees that Ukraine remains neutral, that there are certain limitations on what Ukraine can have in terms of its military capacity. And there are other preconditions which Ukraine is not ready to accept. So it's not just about a ceasefire, about whether we can indeed move to a more comprehensive peace agreement.
You see how Donald Trump operates. He always looks to come out with a win, right, to make a deal. Will Russia give him a win at any point?
That remains an open question. It depends on how much Trump will need to claim victory. And definitely, I can imagine that there are a lot of consultations between Moscow and Washington right now to figure out whether both Trump and Putin can claim victory by the end of this conflict, and to make sure that they can respond to the demands of their respective domestic constituencies.
Okay, Andrey Kortunov, you're joining us from Moscow this hour. Thank you so much.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.